months ago. 3 months ago, The Guardian. This is 3 months ago.
Wow.
More people not having children due to climate breakdown fears finds research.
Really?
Yep. You want to spin the monitor?
That is just so hard to
The
believe that
Malthusians-
regular people are buying this.
I actually hear this a lot from
course.
people.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
to bring kids into this world because of climate change or, monetarily. I had $200 to my name when we left the hospital with our first child. You just got,
And-
you just
and
had
it-
kids.
Okay, that's not how raising children works. The idea of having $200 when you leave the hospital and just being okay is not how it works. There's a reason why food stamps exist and why social safety nets exist and why people with children can claim them as dependents and get tax benefits from it. Because raising children is expensive and hard. Are they actually trying to pretend as though adding an extra mouth to feed to your household is not a massive increase in cost? This is how disconnected you have to be or pretend to be a conservative pundit. You have to unironically pretend as though adding an extra mouth to feed to your home does not immediately, massively increase your monthly living costs. I will say that when my mom comes to visit me, I pay for literally all the food. And oh my God, does the monthly grocery bill go up by a lot. It's more than by 100%. It's more than if there was just, like you would think, than for just one extra person living with you. Having just a single extra person living with you makes you spend so much more money on food. It adds complications. You have to buy formula. You have to buy diapers. You have to worry about medical emergencies. What if the baby gets sick? There are countless things to worry about. There always has to be a parent home able to be with the child unless you can afford a babysitter, which many people are not in a situation where they have a parent or grandparent who can just always be there to take care of the baby when you go out to work, and you can have a two-income household with kids. Pretty hard to pull off. Let's not pretend like reality doesn't exist here, please.
Listen.
Have kids.
Well, I hear people say things like maybe it's not the right time for us yet because we're not established enough or not. But I just even
always the right time.
even my extreme leftist professor friends, they might pay lip service to what.
It's always the right time. Genuinely, these people want you to suffer for their political ideology. They genuinely want you to suffer for their political ideology. It's always the right time to have kids, is what that guy just said. These guys are desperate to increase birth rates. It's like, I saw a vid about how climate doomerism is mostly pushed by channels who used to push climate denial. It's possible, but I haven't really looked into that, so I can't really say if that's true, factually. The thing about climate change right now is that we're already seeing it happen, but the way that it's happening isn't how conservatives have lied and said the left has said it will happen. Or I should say climate scientists will say it will happen. Let's look at some places that were built and just going back a couple decades ago were completely fine, even when big storms happened. Here's a video of a tiger shark swimming through a Florida neighborhood after a recent flood because of a storm surge that happened. When the average sea levels rise, and you account for tides and storm surge and floodwaters in Florida, a couple inches of rising rising sea level means that all it takes is the few yearly storms like this that happen a year to literally destroy entire neighborhoods multiple times a year, which is literally what's happening now in Florida, in many neighborhoods coastally. Here's a fucking shark swimming through a neighborhood in Florida. This is a year ago. That's because it's connected to the ocean, by the way. Not because rainwater flooded. It's because it's connected to the ocean, and sharks were able to swim into the neighborhood. Oh, it's two sharks. Okay, it's not even just one shark, it's two. Wasn't this fake? No. This happens all the goddamn time. Bull sharks literally swim up the Mississippi River 1,000 miles inland to completely landlocked states. This is absolutely real. Sharks swim into flooded neighborhoods all the time. I witnessed this happen. I was literally made homeless because my neighborhood as a kid got flooded by a storm the neighborhood was not designed to withstand those kind of storms. Climate change did this. Now, right now, the big issue is, coastal neighborhoods in Florida get fucking wrecked when storms hit. The hurricanes hit a few times a year during hurricane season. It's a big problem. This is just the beginning. The scientists said it would be feet of rising sea levels, and that's a slow, gradual process. The point they were warning about wasn't in 50 years we're all going to be underwater. The thing they were warning about was in 50 years we're not going to be able to stop it. We've passed that point. It's not that we've passed the made up in 50 years we'll all be underwater argument. It's that we have passed the we can't stop it point unless we go fully carbon negative. That is to say, we are removing more carbon from the atmosphere each year than we are putting into it. We need to have a net negative carbon emission globally. It's not happening. It's not presently happening. So the problem's just getting worse. I'm not doomering. I am just simply being real here. I don't think most people who don't want to have kids aren't having kids because of climate change. I think most educated people who are aware of it know that the primary people who are going to be harmed by it are the very coastal living Americans and the people living in lower income areas, like very low income, like by low income areas, I mean like the global south. I mean like developing nations, right? And farming is going to get fucked up pretty badly too, which is going to have some pretty drastic effects on food prices. But overall, you're not going to see like wealthy American cities flooding, especially not as you get inland. It's mostly going to be like the coast consumes a few feet, and it's going to be significant in some areas that are low-lying and flat, but in other areas it won't be as big of a deal. There are models and projections that very accurately show how this will happen. But it's a slow process. And right now, we really see the holy shit, my house is underwater part of that process happening during hurricanes. But I don't think most people who aren't having kids because they think climate change is going to end the world. I think they aren't having kids because having kids is expensive and a lot of responsibility. And frankly, this weird conservative notion that every human has a responsibility to procreate and have kids is partially what is guilting incels into believing they're failing as men or failing society by not having sex. A. And B, it's this weird idea that we as humans in a free country have to shackle ourselves with this burden of being forced to have kids and have that responsibility because it is supposedly an immoral, sinful, selfish, society-degrading act to just focus on yourself, enjoy life, and not have kids. You enjoying your freedoms is bad for society, according to them. And they are convincing you to tell other people that's the case too.